You know how every neighborhood has that one person? The self-appointed keeper of the rules? The one who treats the HOA guidelines like sacred scripture and believes their clipboard is a weapon of divine authority? Yeah. Ours is named Laura. She lives 3 houses down from me in a tidy beige rancher with matching beige shutters, matching beige mulch, and a matching beige mailbox, all of which she proudly claims were approved in writing back in 2006. She walks her miniature schnauzer Winston twice a day like clockwork, always in clean white sneakers, pressed khakis, and a color-coordinated polo tucked in so tightly it looks surgically stitched. And every time she walks by someone's house, she scans it like a border patrol agent. Doesn't matter if she knows you. Doesn't matter if you waved yesterday. If your trash bins are visible, your weeds are too long, or, God forbid, your house paint is one shade outside the earth tone spectrum? You'll be hearing from her. Trust me. When I bought my home last year, I thought I'd lucked out. It was a quiet neighborhood with mature trees, great schools, and friendly people. Well, most people. At first, Laura kept her distance, probably evaluating me like a hawk circling a squirrel with a paint roller. I spent the first few months just settling in, unpacking boxes, getting to know the neighbors, and planning some much-needed exterior touch-ups. The house was a dull, flaking shade of grayish taupe. The kind of color that looks like it gave up in the middle of existing. So after a few weeks of back and forth with paint samples, I decided on something that felt fresh. It was a warm terracotta. Not firetruck red. Not neon coral. Just a rich, earthy clay tone that made the brickwork pop and gave the place a little personality. I didn't think it was a big deal until the morning I saw her. Laura. Standing across the street. Staring. Clipboard in hand. I was sipping my coffee, admiring the second coat drying in the morning light. The painters had just wrapped up, and the place looked amazing. But Laura? She looked like someone had parked a clown car on her lawn. She didn't wave. She didn't blink. She just stared for 5 full seconds, then turned on her heel and marched back to her house. I didn't need to guess what was coming. The letter arrived 2 days later. Typed. Double-spaced. On HOA letterhead. But the tone? All Laura. Dear resident. It has come to our attention that your recent exterior paint color may be in violation of the community's approved color palette. HOA. Regulation 4.7 states that all paint colors must be pre-approved to maintain neighborhood uniformity and property value consistency. As of this notice, no such approval has been filed for your residents. Please respond within 10 days with either A. Proof of prior approval, or B. Intent to repaint in compliance. Sincerely, the Architectural Review Committee. CC, Laura Hastings, HOA Liaison. There it was. The judgment. Wrapped in fake civility. Now here's the kicker, I had submitted a paint approval request weeks ago through the HOA's online portal, which, surprise, surprise, never sent confirmation emails. I even attached the paint swatch and listed the brand, code, and finish. So naturally, I wasn't worried. I sent an email with the screenshot of my submission. Polite. Professional. No exclamation points. I figured that would be the end of it. It wasn't. The next morning, I caught Laura photographing my house from her driveway. Yes. Photographing. With an actual digital camera, not even her phone, like some kind of crime scene. Investigator. I waved. She didn't. That same afternoon, another letter showed up. This one was thicker. It contained 4 printed photos of my house from various angles, with little sticky notes. pointing to excessively warm undertone, non-neutral saturation, and my personal favorite, non-conforming visual impact. Who even says visual impact? Laura. That's who. Later that week, I bumped into Mr. Henley, the HOA president, while out walking my dog. Sweet man. Retired dentist. Still wears loafers to mow his lawn. Hey there, he said, with a knowing smile. Heard about the house color drama? I raised an eyebrow. Let me guess, Laura? He chuckled. She's been going door to door collecting opinions. On my house? She says it destabilizes the block's tone cohesion. Whatever that means. I couldn't help but laugh. It's paint. Not nuclear waste. He nodded. Personally? I think it looks great. But you know how she is. Yeah. We all did. By the end of the week, I was the talk of the street. Some neighbors complimented the new color in hushed tones, like it was taboo. Others asked if I'd be forced to repaint. But most just rolled their eyes and whispered, Laura. Still, I could feel the weight of it building. The tension. The passive-aggressive glances. The HOA machinery creaking into gear. And then came the email. Subject line, mandatory HOA appearance, exterior paint review. Attached was a notice summoning me to speak before the board. Like I'd committed a crime. Like my house had become a cautionary tale. I was calm. I was polite. But inside? I was done. Done with Laura's tyranny. Done with the performance. And ready, more than ready, to fight back. Because what Laura didn't know was that while preparing for my review, I did some digging. And I found something deliciously ironic. Her house? That perfectly approved beige fortress? Had no record of approval on file. None. No submission. No permit. No email. No swatch. It was never officially approved. Ever. And now? It was my turn to bring the clipboard. The day of the HOA meeting arrived like the calm before a thunderstorm, blue skies. Overhead, birds chirping, neighbors mowing lawns. You'd never guess the stage was being set for a neighborhood drama worthy of a Netflix miniseries. The meeting was held at the community clubhouse. Inside, the long folding tables were set up in a U shape, and the usual suspects filled their plastic chairs, Mr. Henley at the center. With his stack of agendas, Mrs. Kim scribbling notes in a pastel binder, Mr. Delgado sipping water from a thermos that read, I'd rather be gardening. And of course, Laura. Clipboard in lap. Reading glasses perched on the tip of her nose. Beige sweater set. Expression locked into polite judgment. She didn't look at me as I walked in. But I could feel her satisfaction radiating across the room like heat from a space heater. This was her moment. Her attempt at a public shaming. I took my seat calmly. I was ready. Mr. Henley called the meeting to order, cleared his throat, and got to the agenda item. Everyone was waiting for Item 4.3, Color Code Clarification for the Jennings residence. I stood, smile polite, back straight. Thank you for having me. I'd like to start by confirming that I did submit my paint request via the HOA's online portal, complete with swatches and product info, several weeks before any painting began. I held up my printed submission receipt. Passed copies to the table. Mrs. Kim nodded. Mr. Delgado murmured, that looks official. But Laura? She pounced. The issue, Mr. Henley, she interrupted, is not simply the timing. It's the color itself. It violates the harmony of the neighborhood's established aesthetic. This is not a Tuscan villa community. It's a neutral tone subdivision. There it was. The shade throwing, both literal and metaphorical. I smiled. And who determined what counts as harmony? Because HOA regulations refer to pre-approved palettes, not personal taste. Laura's jaw tightened. I continued. I also took the liberty of reviewing those pre-approved palettes. And according to Sherwin-Williams' Earth and Clay series, which is cited in the HOA's appendix, my color falls well within the guidelines. Gasps. Actual gasps. Even Mr. Henley raised an eyebrow. Laura adjusted her glasses like they'd personally betrayed her. She tried again. But it's not just about swatches. It's about precedent. No other home on this street has such a bold exterior. I turned to her. Are you sure about that? She blinked. I walk this block every day. I opened a folder and pulled out a series of printed photos. 8 homes in the neighborhood, all with various shades of deep olive, golden mustard, brick red. All approved. All on file. I passed those around, too. By now, the tension was so thick you could frost a cake with it. Laura sat back. But I wasn't finished. There's one more thing, I said calmly, sliding a final document to the center of the table. This is a public record request from the HOA archives. I looked up every paint approval from the past 15 years. I let that sit. Then continued, flipping to the last page. There is no record of approval for 118 Cedar Ridge Drive. The room went quiet. Laura's eyes flicked toward me. That's your address, Laura. No one breathed. Not even Winston, who was in the hallway tied to a chair leg, probably praying for mercy. Mr. Henley cleared his throat. Is that accurate? Laura's voice cracked. That house was painted in 2006. I'm sure the documents are simply missing. I shook my head. I checked twice. No digital files. No scanned records. Not even a handwritten note. If you'd like, I'm happy to request another official search, but by HOA standards, your home paint color is unapproved. Mic dropped. Mr. Delgado let out a low whistle. Mrs. Kim looked down awkwardly at her notes. Laura's cheeks turned the exact shade of my house color. The meeting wrapped soon after. No citation issued. No demand to repaint. Just a vague promise from the board to update procedures and record-keeping to avoid confusion. I walked out without a scratch. Laura? She looked like a balloon someone had just deflated with a pushpin. The next day, something strange happened. I found a flyer on my doorstep. No envelope. Just a piece of paper taped to the door. Concerned neighbors for community consistency. Join our petition to introduce a new color compliance committee. Because harmony matters. At the bottom? One name. Laura Hastings. I laughed so hard, I spilled my coffee. But the funny thing was, it didn't work. Not this time. The neighbors had seen the truth. They'd watched the showdown. They'd heard the receipts. And slowly, the whispers began. She never got her paint approved? After all those complaints? Wow, the audacity. By the end of the week, only 3 people had signed Laura's petition. 2 of them were her friends from her book club. The third? Winston's dog Walker, who clearly didn't read the paper before signing it. That Friday, Mr. Henley knocked on my door. Thought you should know, he said with a chuckle. The board's voting to dismiss the petition. And we're opening up the color palette guidelines, officially. He looked around at my house. I think you started something good here. I smiled. I just wanted a fresh coat of paint. He grinned. Well, you also painted the truth right on Laura's wall. By now, Laura wasn't just the neighbor with opinions. She had become the neighbor with a reputation. A reputation that was cracking like the paint on her allegedly approved shutters. I wasn't the only one who noticed the shift. At the next neighborhood walk and chat, which is HOA speak for walk around, drink coffee, and judge people's petunias, Laura showed up, but this time without the clipboard. That alone made people raise eyebrows. She stuck to small talk. Tried to chat about pet hair and porch lights. But everyone could feel it. The air had changed. The woman who once ruled the HOA with a passive-aggressive smile and a printout of violations now lingered awkwardly at the edges of conversations, waiting to be invited in. She wasn't. Meanwhile, the neighborhood was blossoming, literally. People started painting. Deep sage greens, warm golds, slate blues. Tasteful, bold, expressive. And thanks to the new official guidelines Mr. Henley introduced, ones based on updated palettes, inclusive options, and actual homeowner votes, no one had to sneak around or beg Laura for liaison approval anymore. She hated it. You could see it in the tightness of her jaw when she walked Winston past homes that now proudly wore colors that would have once earned them a sticky note and a citation. And when my next-door neighbors painted their front door a cheery turquoise, she called it visually jarring. They called it voted in. That's when she started campaigning. Not officially, of course. But subtle flyers reappeared. This time under the guise of preserve our palettes. Vintage fonts. Watermarked clip art of paintbrushes. A plea to restore the aesthetic integrity of our neighborhood before it's too late. Her main argument? That my house had set a dangerous precedent. She never said my name directly, but everyone knew who she meant. I was the bold terracotta experiment, the slippery slope, the Trojan horse of noncompliance. Except I was compliant. That was the entire irony. And I wasn't alone. The community liked the color. They liked being able to choose without groveling. They liked the idea that their homes could reflect their style, not just a swatch Laura laminated in 2008. Then came the HOA election. Every year, board positions opened for voting. In the past, no one cared. Half the ballots went unreturned. Mr. Henley usually got re-elected with 10 votes and a coffee gift card. But this year? People cared. Because Laura ran. Officially. She declared her candidacy for Architectural Oversight Chair, a title that sounded as dramatic as it was unnecessary. She printed yard signs, made Instagram posts, badly, and even hosted a color harmony coffee hour at her house with free biscotti and a suggestion box labeled emergency tones. I almost wanted to attend out of morbid curiosity. I didn't. But plenty of others did, including Thompson, our neighbor with the ring cam obsession. He recorded the entire Q&A session. And that, friends, is where Laura delivered her fatal error. In the middle of answering a question about color consistency, someone asked point blank, "What's the process you used when you painted your home?" Laura blinked. Then gave the answer we all knew was a lie. "Well, I submitted the color for approval in 2006. I remember hand-delivering the sample to the committee. It was documented properly at the time. Now, remember, I had already proven there was no such record. And it would have been one thing if she left it there. But she didn't. She went further. I even have the original form at home. Signed and stamped." Thompson uploaded the video to the neighborhood Facebook group that night with one line. "Oh really?" The next morning, someone asked for the proof. Someone else offered to help her scan it. Laura ignored both comments. 2 days passed. Then Mrs. Kim, our soft-spoken HOA secretary, chimed in. "I searched every archive. No stamp. No form. Just a sticky note in Laura's handwriting. Labeled 'Looks good, proceed.' That's not approval. That's a personal post-it." The comment got 42 likes in 2 hours. And then, the real blow came. Thompson posted a follow-up. A scanned copy of a document he submitted in 2006, complete with an official HOA header, board signature, and attached paint sample. He captioned it, "This is what real approval looked like in 2006. In case anyone forgot." Mic dropped, again. At the next HOA meeting, Laura showed up. No clipboard. No Winston. She sat near the back. Didn't speak. Just watched. The votes were tallied. Results announced. Laura? Not only did she lose, she placed dead last. Even behind Mr. Delgado, who forgot he was running. And just like that, her grip was gone. But the final twist? The thing that sealed the irony forever? A month later, the city started digitalizing old property compliance records. And guess what? Turns out, Laura's entire house color, trim, shutters, even her fence, was never compliant. Why? Because the shade she chose didn't even exist in the HOA palette at the time. It was custom mixed. Custom. For all her talk of neutral earth tones, Laura had painted her house in a shade that technically didn't exist. When the update was published in the HOA newsletter, it was buried under property records were fresh. But people saw it. I got 3 texts that day. One from Mrs. Jackson. Custom mixed, huh? Face with tears of joy. One from Thompson. Illegal beige. What a legacy. And one from Mr. Henley. Congratulations. You've officially outlived the HOA color police. The term illegal beige caught on faster than I expected. First, it started as a private joke, whispered between neighbors like a secret code. But then Mr. Delgado started calling it Laura beige during game night. The McKinleys made a Halloween tombstone labeled RIP Color Harmony, 2006 to 2023. Someone even made a coffee mug that said, "Keep calm and paint bold, just not beige without approval." It was harmless fun. But for Laura? It was the beginning of the end. She didn't take it well. She stopped attending HOA meetings altogether. Winston walked with a new sitter. Her garden, once obsessively trimmed, started to wilt. The beige shutters began to peel just slightly, the first time in recorded HOA history that Laura let something go. And no one called her out for it. Because by then, everyone understood. Laura had lost the one thing she valued more than her rose bushes, more than her clipboard, even more than her HOA title. Control. The board, now led by Mr. Henley with renewed popularity, launched what they called the Harmony Initiative. They created a public color library, allowed digital submissions, and even hosted a weekend paint fair, complete with swatch books, popcorn, and a bounce house for kids. And instead of citing homes for too much personality, they started encouraging tasteful expression. You could almost feel the neighborhood exhale. Lawn chairs returned to front porches. Planters bloomed in wild, defiant colors. One guy even painted his mailbox teal with orange accents, not my taste, but hey, he got it. Approved. And me? My terracotta house stood untouched. Approved. Proud. A symbol. One afternoon, as I watered my flowers, I noticed Laura's Lexus backing out of her driveway. For sale sign in the yard. No farewell party. No wave. Not even a passive-aggressive sticky note. Just silence. She drove away without looking back. And as the car turned the corner, I noticed something for the first time in a long time. Her house, in all its beige and muted trim, looked out of place. It wasn't the color. It was the energy. That house had carried so much tension, so much watchfulness, that now, without her, it looked empty. Not physically. Spiritually. A month later, a young couple moved in. First thing they did? Painted the front door a deep plum purple. It glowed against the beige like a statement. A fresh start. A bold one. As for me? I became the one who stood up to Laura. Not officially, of course. No awards or titles. But neighbors waved longer. Shared more. Invited me to more backyard get-togethers. One. Even asked for help choosing their own paint color, said I had an eye for standing up to tradition. I laughed. But it meant something. Because I hadn't set out to fight a war. I just wanted my home to feel like mine. And sometimes, the fight for your own front door ends up opening doors for others, too. Mr. Henley, now fully retired from dentistry and drama, still stops by every now and then. He calls my place the Color House. Says it reminds him that progress starts with a brushstroke. He brought me a new welcome mat last week. One that says, "Come as you are. But leave the clipboard." So what's the lesson? That control doesn't equal community. That bold isn't the enemy of beautiful. That the loudest person in the room doesn't always know the rules best, especially when she breaks them herself. And maybe, just maybe, that beige is sometimes the biggest red flag of all. Oh, and remember the guy who painted his mailbox teal? Turns out, he's an artist. Just got asked to do murals for the community rec center. His new house color? Sunflower yellow. Approved unanimously. Even Winston's new owner wagged his tail. And me? I still sit on my porch some mornings, coffee in hand, soaking in the sun bouncing off my warm terracotta walls. No complaints. No citations. Just peace. Until last week, when a new neighbor knocked. Sweet woman. Said she loved the color of my house. Then asked if her pet goats would be allowed in the backyard. So yeah. Here we go again.